Hello, my name is Fotini Leventaku, and I'm the Senior Coordinator of Reference and Instruction Services at John S. Bailey Library. This is the second part of the crash course on APA paper formatting. During this part, I'm going to demonstrate how you can turn a paper into an actual APA paper. I'm going to do this using MS Word. So what I have prepared here is an imaginary paper. I have included all the elements that an APA paper may include, like the title page elements, the abstract, the text, the references, as well as the optional elements like footnotes, tables, figures, and appendices. And we can start right away formatting this imaginary paper. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to activate a little button which allows me to see all the hidden characters that exist in a document. This button I want to activate is located under the Home tab and specifically in the paragraph options. And it is this little button which shows the paragraph symbol. This symbol is called the pilcrow. If I activate this button, what happens on my screen and in my text is that some new characters appear. Characters like, for instance, these little dots in between the words. So if you notice, there are little dots in between words. Uh, this character, this little dot in between two words, actually signifies a space. So every time you hit space on your keyboard, a character like this is included in your document. Another hidden character that we can see is the pilcrow, the paragraph symbol at the end of every paragraph. This is a hidden character for an enter. Every time you hit enter on your keyboard, this character is included in the document. So whenever the button that I showed you a minute ago is deactivated, you cannot see those characters, but they are still there. If you activate it, you can actually see them. And the reason why I I urge you to use this button is because knowing where the hidden characters are helps you edit your document easily. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix the margins of the page, the empty areas at the top, bottom, left, and right of the page. So how do I fix the margins? I'm going to use the Layout tab. I'm going to go to the first button, which is called Margins. And I'm going to go all the way to the bottom and select Custom Margins. As we said in a previous video, in APA papers, the top, bottom, left, and right margins should be 1 inch long. So the top and bottom margins are already 1 inch long. I'm gonna fix the left and the right. I'm also gonna make sure from this window here, actually from the second tab, the paper tab, that the paper size is A4. It is, so I'm gonna hit OK. And now my paper size and my margins are fixed and I'm ready to move on. The second thing that I'm gonna do is that I'm going to add the running head. I remind you that I'm starting by formatting a professional paper. So I need a running head and I also need a page number. The running head and the page number should appear at the top of the page. Uh, they both appear at the top margin, which is actually called the header of the document. How do I write on the margin? I need to open the document, and the easiest way to do this is by double clicking at the top margin. So I'm going to use my mouse and I will double click at the top margin. Once I do that, I have the header opened up. I also have a new tab at the top, which is called Header and Footer Tools. We'll talk about this a little bit later because we're going to use it for a few things. Now, the first thing I'm going to add to my header is the running head. So I'm going to write, this is a running head. I'm reminding you that the running head should be in all capital letters. And obviously, this is where your actual running head should appear. Okay. Once I have written my running head, I will use my keyboard and specifically the Tab key. I will hit the Tab key twice, once, twice, so that I take the cursor to the right side of the line where the page number should appear. Okay, before I add the page number, you probably noticed that when I pressed Tab, two arrows appeared. These are hidden characters for a tab. Okay, you can see them because we originally activated the Pilcrow button. All right. Now, I'll take the cursor back to the end of the line. And this is where I want to place my page numbers. How do I place page numbers? I don't place them manually by using the keyboard because if I do, let's try that. Let's try one. When you scroll down to the next page, your next page will also have the number 1. And this is because everything you write in the header actually of the page is repeated at the top of every single page. That's why we also have the running head here. So this is not the proper way to add pages to a document. We will remove it. And the correct way to add pages is by using the header and footer tools. There is an option here, which is called page number. I'm gonna click on that. And I'm gonna select current position because I want the page number to appear at the position where the cursor is currently located. And I'm going to use plain number because I just want a number with no other decorations. So my running head is ready, my page number is ready, and if I scroll down to the next page, I will see that the second page has number 2. So this is correct. My header is perfect, and I can hit close header and footer to close it. Okay. Notice that when the header is activated, the rest of the paper is deactivated and vice versa. The next thing I will do is I will fix the spacing of the paper. An APA paper should be double spaced, so I need to select the entire text and double space it. Now, let me pause for a minute and give you some tips. When you want to select a line in a document, instead of doing this, using your mouse to select the entire line, you can do the following. You can just click once in front of the line on the left margin, and this will select one line. If you click twice, this will select an entire paragraph. And if you select 3 times, if you click actually 3 times, this will select the entire document from the beginning to the end. Okay, I'm not going to scroll down all the way to the bottom. But you get the point. Clicking once selects a line. Clicking twice in front of a paragraph selects a paragraph. Clicking 3 times on the left margin selects the entire document. Now that I have selected the entire document, I'm going to go back to my paragraph options and specifically to this little corner at the bottom right of the paragraph options. These are the paragraph settings. From here, I can fix the spacing as well as the alignment of the text. Let's start with the alignment. We know that an APA paper should be aligned on the left. So this is what I'm going to select. And then I'm going to skip the indentation part for the minute. And I'm going to use spacing. Here, I want to make sure that the spacing before and after each paragraph is 0, because I don't want any extra space before or after each paragraph. And then I'm going to move to line spacing and make sure I use double spacing. Okay, so I'm done with that. I hit OK, and now I have double spaced my actual text. And I have also aligned it on the left side of the page. Now, let's format the first element of our paper, which is the title page. The title page includes the title, the authors, the affiliations of the authors, and an author note, uh, a section that includes information, additional information about the authors. Okay. I will take my cursor in front of the title and take the title using the Enter tab. I'm going to take the title and everything that follows the title. I'm going to take it a few lines below. Let's say 4 lines will be enough. How many lines, empty lines, will be at the top depends actually on the length of the information below the title and the length of the title as well. Okay. The next thing I will do is I will select the title, the authors, the affiliations, and the label author note, and I will place them at the center of the page. So I'm going to use the paragraph settings once again, and I'm going to select center. The next thing I will do is I will take the cursor at the end of the title and I will press enter once to leave an empty line in between the title and the author. Then my title should be bold, so I'm going to select it, and using the font options, I'm going to hit bold. And what else do I need to do with the title? I need to properly capitalize the title. How do we capitalize the title of a paper, of an APA paper? We capitalize it using what we call title case capitalization, which means that the first letter of every major word, excluding articles and short prepositions, should be capitalized. How do I do that? There is a special button that allows me to do that. From the font options, I will use this AA button, which allows me to select capitalize each word. And this actually capitalizes the first letter of every single word, even articles and short prepositions, which means that I need to be careful and change the capitalization of articles and short prepositions. So I'm going to change off, I'm going to change a, and I'm going to change the. So now my title looks perfect. The next element I have on my title page is the name of the author. Here in this case, I have included two authors, myself and my colleague, Miss Mary Soile. Exactly because I have two authors, I also have two institutional affiliations, the School of Graduate and Professional Education at DIRI and the Department of Psychology at DIRI. These are imaginary affiliations, obviously, just to show you that when you have two authors and two different institutional affiliations, you need to make sure that the reader understands which affiliation belongs to which author. This is why we use numbers, superscript numbers, after the name of the author and before the name of the affiliation to make sure that it's clear which affiliation belongs to whom. Now, how do we turn these numbers to superscript numbers? We select them, and then from the font options, we use another button, which is this one, this X square button, and the number is turned into a superscript number. Now, I can do the same with the rest of the numbers. This 2 right here, this 1 right here, and this 2 right there. And I can easily do this by using something called the Format Painter. The Format Painter is up here. I'm still in the Home tab. I'm in the clipboard area now, and there is a button called Format Painter. This button allows you to copy the formatting from one place to another. So you first select the place where you want to copy the formatting from. You double click the Format Painter. Now the mouse looks like a brush, and you can select where to copy the formatting to. So I want to make all these numbers look like superscripts. Now my superscripts are correct, and I'm done with the Format Painter, so I don't forget to click on it again, just to make sure that I don't copy the formatting somewhere where I don't want it. My next step is to take the cursor at the end of the last affiliation and hit enter a few times, because I want the author note to appear to cover the bottom half of the page. So the first half, the top half of the page, is occupied by the title, the authors, and the affiliations, and the bottom half of the page is occupied by the author note. Now let's fix the author note. The first thing that I want to do with the author note is make the label bold. So I'm selecting it and I'm turning it to bold. And the next thing I want to do is select the author note. It goes up to here, and create paragraphs in the author note. So how do we create the paragraphs? After selecting the text, we go to the paragraph settings once again. So I'm going to use this little button down at the bottom right of the paragraph settings area. And I'm going to use the indentation section, and specifically special indentation. The drop-down menu gives me two options, first line and hanging. What I want to use here is first line by 1/2 inch, which will make my text look like paragraphs. Okay. I'm done with my author note. What follows is the second element of the paper, which is the abstract page of the paper. Now, every element in an APA paper appears on a new page, starts on a new page. So how do I change pages? Many people would take the cursor at the end of the author note and would start pressing enter until they reach the next page. Okay, this is not very good practice, because if you do that and you save your work and you open it in another PC, it might not look the same. The text may be up and down because the way a device depicts a document differs from device to device. So I'm going to hit backspace to return back to my cursor back to the end of the author node. And what I want to use instead of pressing enter is I'm going to add something which is called a page break. Uh, so I'm taking the cursor where I want the page to change. I'm going to the Insert tab, and then I'm selecting the button called Page Break. This will do what? It will add a hidden character called Page Break, and this hidden character actually tells Word, this is the place where I want you to start a new page. Okay, so every time you want to move to a new section and starts in a new page, you want to insert a page break. Second element, the abstract. Let's format the abstract page. The first thing I want to do is take the label abstract at the top line, because this is where it should appear. I will make my label bold. So I'm going to go to the Home tab once again and hit bold. And from the paragraph options, I'm going to also center it, because the labels of the different elements should always be bold and centered and appearing at the top line of the page. Since I know that every element label should look like this, I can copy this formatting to the rest of the labels in my document. So I have selected the label abstract. I'm going to double click on Format Painter once again. And I will move on to the next element, which is the text, which starts with the title of the paper. So I'm going to copy the formatting to the title of the paper. I'm going to move to the next element, which is the references, and I'm going to copy the formatting to the label references. Then I have a section with footnotes. I'm going to copy the formatting to the footnote section as well. Then I have a table. I'm going to skip the table because the label of a table should not be centered. So I'm going to format it differently later. I'm going to skip the figure as well for the same reason. And I'm going to copy the formatting to the appendix and the title of the appendix as well, because both should look centered and bold. Okay, I'm done with copying the formatting to the different element labels. So I'm hitting Format Painter once again to deactivate it. And I'm going to go all the way to the top where my abstract is, so that I finish up formatting the abstract page. As you can see, the text here is something that you cannot read. It's in Latin. I have just used it to fill in the space. I'm reminding you that the abstract paragraph is the only paragraph that is not indented. Okay, but what is indented is the keywords line. So I will select the keywords line. I will use the paragraph setting button once again, and I'm going to use special indentation first line to indent the line where the keywords appear. The label keywords should be selected and italicized. And then we have the imaginary keywords separated with commas. I have already added a page break because I want the next section to appear on a new page. And the next section is the actual text. Okay. Before I move into the text and how we can format it, let me just mention that the first two pages, the title page and the abstract page, are pages, the way we have formatted them up to this point, are pages which should appear in a professional paper. If this was not a professional paper, but a student paper, we would need to make some alterations. Let's make these alterations now because the differences between professional and student papers have to do with these two pages actually. Okay, so let's turn these two pages into pages that have to do with a student paper by first removing the running head, because the running head is something required only in professional papers. So how do I remove it? I double click on the header and I delete the running head. I close my header and I move on to the next part, which is the title. I will change professional here to student because now I'm actually preparing a student paper. I will keep the same authors and the same affiliations. These should look the same no matter what type of paper you are writing. Then after the institutional affiliations, I will add the course code and the course title. Let's say PS 1000 colon psychology as a natural science. Okay. Then the next element we need is the name of the instructor. So let's say our imaginary instructor is Dr. John Smith. And the last thing we need on our title page, if we are writing a student paper, is the date when the paper is due. Let's say that the date is October 30, 2023. And this is the way the course, the instructor, and the date should appear on the title page of a student paper. Okay, obviously, in a student paper, the author note is not required. This is something required only in professional papers. So I will remove the author note. And this is my title page. What I will also remove is the abstract page, the entire abstract page, because a student paper does not require an abstract. So I'm going to remove the entire page. And now the second page of a student paper is actually the text, where the text begins, the first page of the text. Now, in the actual text, as we mentioned in a previous video, we have various headings. Let's format those headings. So I have a level 1 heading here. How do I format it? I select it, first of all. I turn it to bold. And I also need it to be title cased. So I'm going to use the AA button to capitalize each word. Okay. A level 1 heading should also be centered. So I'm also going to center it. And then let me check, do I have any other level 1 headings in my text? I have one here, another one here. So what I can do is I can copy the formatting from this heading using my format painter. to the rest of the level 1 headings. Okay. And once I'm done, let me check that there's no other level 1 heading. No, there's not. I'm going to deactivate the Format Painter. Now, I also have different levels of headings. I have a level 2 heading at this point, which should also be bold. I have already properly capitalized it. And I'm just reminding you that the level 2 heading should be aligned on the left. So it is correctly aligned already. Then I have a level 3 heading, which should also be aligned on the left as it is aligned already. It should be capitalized using title case capitalization. So the capitalization is also correct. And I should also turn it to bold, and I should italicize it because all level 3 headings should also be italicized. And then I have a level 4 heading, which should also be bold, title cased, and ending with a full stop. So that's why I have this full stop here. Let me remind you that level 4 headings are part of the paragraph. They are indented. Okay, and this is the reason why the paragraph then continues after the heading. And then we have a level 5 heading here, which should also be bold, capitalized, using title case capitalization, ending with a full stop, indented, bold, and italicized. And the paragraph that follows it continues right after the full stop. Okay, so now we have fixed all levels of headings and subheadings, and we may move on to the next part. The next part is the references. So I have included a page break at the end of my text to make sure that the list of references appears on a new page. What I will do now is I will select my list of references, and the first thing I will do is indent it properly. We said in a previous video that references should be indented using hanging indentation. So I'm going to use my paragraph settings button once again, and under indentation special, I will select hanging by 1/2 inch. So now my list of references has been indented using hanging indentation. And having selected the list of references, I will also place my references in alphabetical order. This is something that you don't need to do using your own mind, your brain, because Word actually gives you a feature to do this easily. What is this feature? It's this A to Z button, again in the paragraph options. If you click the A to Z button, you can sort the paragraphs in ascending or descending order. What we want here is ascending order. And by hitting OK, my references are placed in the correct alphabetical order based on the name of the author. Okay, so my references have been fixed. Let's move further down to the footnotes section. In the previous video, we said that footnotes, first of all, are an optional element. You don't always need to have footnotes. If you do want to include footnotes, you may include them either at the end after the references on a special section on a new page. So they will look as they look now. So they will be indented like paragraphs, and they will have superscript numbers in front of them. But APA gives you the option of placing footnotes inside the text if you prefer. My personal opinion is that footnotes are better off inside the text because it's easier to handle them when they are inside the text. So I'm going to show you the alternative of what you see on the screen right now, which is placing footnotes inside the text. I'm going to go to my actual text. There I am. Let's say that I want to place a footnote here. I place the cursor where I want the footnote to appear. I'm going to the References tab, and there's a button here called Insert Footnote. If I click on it, what happens is Word adds a superscript number where I want the footnote to appear and opens up a special section at the bottom of the page with the same superscript number and which allows me to actually add my footnote at this point. So I will just write this is a footnote. What's good about this process is that if I decide that I want another footnote earlier in my text, let's say here, I can follow the same procedure, and now Word automatically renumbers my footnotes. Now the new one is numbered 1 and the previous one is numbered 2. And next to number 1, which is the new footnote, I have an empty line where I can add my new footnote. This is a new footnote. This means that I can easily add or remove footnotes as I wish. Obviously, if you decide to place footnotes inside the text, then you would remove them from this part of the paper. Okay, so the next part after the references would be, in our case here, a table. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about tables. Tables and figures are also two elements which may be placed inside the text. You have the option to either place them in the text or place them where they are currently located after the references. My personal opinion is that tables and figures would better be placed after the references because placing them inside the text may make your text go up and down. It's up to you to decide. Let's see how we format tables and figures. In a previous video, we said that each table has its own label, and the same happens with figures. The labels comprise the word table or the word figure and a number. So this label is aligned on the left as it is right now, and it is also bold. So let's bold it. I can use my format painter to do the same for the figure label that I have in the next page. Then the next element I want to fix to format properly is the title of the table. The title of the table again is aligned on the left. It is title cased, so I have already title cased it, and it should also be in italics. So I'm gonna use the format painter and copy the same formatting in the title of the figure. Okay. And then lastly, below the table, I have a note. The label note should be also italicized. I'm going to use the format painter to italicize the note of the figure as well. the label of the note actually. Okay, so my figure and my table have been formatted properly. I'm not going to go into more detail about this because this would be a totally new session. Okay. Now, what I want to stress is that tables occupy one page each. So if you have more than one tables, if you have more than one figures, each table or each figure should appear on a separate page. You will not uh, ever have two tables or two figures on the same page. And the last element we have here is the appendix. I will just stress that the appendix always has a title that describes what's included in the appendix. And I will also remind you that if you have more than one appendices, they should be numbered with capital letters. So if this was the first among many appendices, it would be called Appendix A. If you only have one appendix, then you don't need a number. So now my paper has been formatted properly. This is an APA student paper. You should save it, and you can use this as a template for every other paper you create. So you can do this procedure once, save it as a template, and every time you want to start a new paper, you can come to this, remove the sections that you don't need, add your own text and your own title, and make the appropriate alterations in order not to do this whole procedure every single time. And with that note, I would like to thank you very much for watching.